we'll chant some of the previous names of Gurudev and then add one more. Om Dhairya-pradaya Namaha.
Om Dhairya-pradaya Namaha.
Om Narayaya Namaha.
Om Narayaya Namaha.
Om Nijanandaya Namaha.
Om Nijanandaya Namaha.
Om Nirapekshaya Namaha.
Om Nirapekshaya Namaha.
Om Nisprihaya Namaha.
Om Nisprihaya Namaha.
Om Nirupamaya Namaha.
Om Nirupamaya Namaha.
Om Nirvikalpaya Namaha.
Om Nirvikalpaya Namaha.
Om Nityaya Namaha.
Om Nityaya Namaha.
Om Niranjanaya Namaha.
Om Niranjanaya Namaha.
Om Niranjanaya Namaha.
Om Niranjanaya Namaha.
Gurudev's name is Niranjana. Niranjana is here also. Niranjana. Niranjana. Niranjana means without taint, without blemish. Nishkalank in Hindi they call. Niranjana. So taintless. So salutations to that one who is taintless, blemishless, who has no blemish or no stain. You know, stain in English we say. Like that. Absolutely taintless. Such Mahatmas, even if they have some guna, which for ordinary people is durgun, in those people, that durgun becomes an ornament. Like for example, Gurudev is to get angry and shout. Well, when we get angry and shout for ordinary people, that is durgun. When he gets angry and shouts, that is an ornament to his personality. Like, if you have a black spot on your nice white kurta, right? You get a black spot. Then, who wants to see a black spot on this kurta, you know? And that in some odd place on the side. That same black spot, women put in the middle of their forehead, right? That black spot becomes an ornament or not? So the same thing can be some ugly spot, or it can be an ornament. So when we see qualities like anger, for instance, in ordinary people like us, they are ugly spots. But in a Mahatma like him, there is an ornament. And when he shouts, the reason is when he shouts, he does that with total absence of ego. When we shout, there is so much of ego that we are committing pap. When he shouts, he does it with 100% absence of ego, and so his shouting would serve to knock out our ignorance and our foolishness. When we shout at people, we become more foolish than them. This is called a Niranjana, without blemish, without stain, without any taint. Okay. Niranjanaya Namaha. Salutation to that Guru who is taintless. Okay. Now we have to jump to chapter 9. This is where we are. Navama. Navama Adhyaya. When we left it yesterday, we have to start seeing now from number 16. In number 16, what starts there, Bhagwan's topic is his all-pervasiveness. I told you last night before we left it, Bhagwan's immanence in the universe, his all-pervasiveness. In Sanskrit is called as sarva-vyapitvam. His sarva-vyapitvam is all-pervasiveness in all things is again demonstrated as he has started in the 7th chapter, and he mentions here in the 9th chapter, and he'll finish this in 10th chapter actually. He'll not leave it. Because the all-pervasiveness of God is the most forgotten thing about God. Think, you will see. People think God is in the temple. People think God is in the sky. People think God is only in the murti. God is only in the picture. In a house also, wherever you have the puja room, they think God is only in the puja room. We forget clean the all-pervasiveness of God. Not only the all-pervasiveness. When we say all-pervasive in Sanskrit, that thing means sarva-vyapi. That thing has to be understood as given in the 7th chapter here. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. He is not merely all-pervasive, he is everything. That is forgotten. So Bhagavan has to go on saying it in 7th chapter, saying it in 9th chapter, and then devote the whole of 10th chapter to this idea of his all-pervasiveness. That is what is easily forgotten. Because our minds have been conditioned so badly by religious leaders and all this sort of things. What? That God is only there in the puja room or in the temple, or terribly conditioned, or in the sky. Well, most people just point in the sky. Then they say, Upar wala. Upar wala dekh rahe hain. The man up there looking. He's seen we. Forgetting that he is us. So this comes back again now. This topic. Now see here. This will be number 16. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
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 Aham Kraturaham Yajnah Swadaham
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Mantroham Ahamevajam Aham Agniraham Bhutam.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Pitahamasya jagatah Mata Dhata Pitamahah.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Nityam pavitramokharah Riktamaya Jurevacha.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Gatirvarta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit.
Shri शरणं मम श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम
अमृतं चैव मृत्युश्च सदसच्चाहमर्जुन
श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम
श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम
श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम श्री
कृष्ण शरणं बोले वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय aham asi. Bhagavan is reminding, I told you what he is reminding people of, his all pervasiveness, his immanence in the universe, right? And who he is reminding to first? Religious people, because they are the ones who go on talking about God all the time but talk wrongly about God. The other people, the atheists and the worldly people, they don't talk about God and all, so they are saying nothing wrong. One man say, he never make an accident in his whole life. He get his license for, he have his license for 40 years now and he never make an accident in his whole life. Because for the 40 years he never drive too. Why you make accident if you don't drive? Can't make no accident. One man said he never take a bribe in his whole life because nobody never offer him. So the people, the worldly people, the atheists, this, that, they don't say anything about God, so how they can make no mistake too. About God, how they make mistake? They are talking about God self, how they can make mistake? But the religious people who talk about God all the time, they are the ones who make the mistake. So you see the first verse itself, he's speaking to them, says, now, here's a person who is doing this, all his Vedic rituals. He goes on doing all his Vedic rituals all the time. Right? So this is a religious person. So, he says, aham kratuhu. I am the Vedic ritual. Aham kratuhu. Aham means I am the ritual, the type of Vedic ritual, whichever you are doing. Aham yajnaha. I am the sacrifice that is made in doing that ritual. Because to do anything in this world, you have to sacrifice, isn't it? So, a sacrifice should be there. I have to sacrifice, like right now, to listen to this Gita Gyan, you have to sacrifice your time and your effort and everything and come here, right? You sacrifice. Then, Swadha. In all these Vedic rituals, they offer some Swadha. Swadha means food offered to the Menis. Menis means Pitris, those who have gone. Before you, all your grandfather, Aja, this, that, all people who were there, this food is offered to them. That is called a Swadha. So I am that Swadha. Aham Aushadham. Aushadham means all the medicinal herbs. But here Bhagavan Bhashaka tells a nice thing, you know. Bhagavan Shankaracharya, who was incarnation of Lord Shiva, he gave commentary on all of these verses. So, he says this Aushadam here means food. So, the Bhagavad Gita gives the word Aushadam. Listen to this. Bhagavan says he is the Aushadam. Literal meaning of the word Aushada in Sanskrit is medicine. The literal meaning of the word Aushada is medicine. And Bhagavan Shankaracharya says here, Aushada means food, which all creatures eat, including human beings and all other creatures. In other words, food ought to be taken like medicine. Medicine means, the doctor has told, 1 tablespoon 3 times daily. Right? And if you take more than 1 tablespoon, what will happen to you? Tablespoon or teaspoon? Teaspoon. If you take more than 1 teaspoon, what will happen to you? Well, instead of the medicine make you good, it might kill you. Isn't it? This is exactly how food has to be taken. But you know human beings, right? Well, he not taking that limited amount. He eating everybody food. And he going on eating whole, not 3 times a day. He going on eating whole, yes. And because he eat whole. When he come in, he stop there. When he eat here too. Yeah? Whole day he, and any double man is here on the side of the road. He stopped there. He blocking traffic and everything. So the food is considered to be like medicine. It has to be taken as prescribed. So the Shastras tell, no, we are supposed to eat half belly. If you are eating 3 times a day, eat half belly food with food and quarter with water. And the other quarter, leave some space for Bhagwan to walk. Or you stifle him and kill him inside it. You have to leave a little space. Otherwise some people eat up to their throat. And one last boulder go fit there and block the whole thing. You have to take it like medicine. Yeah? A little bit, means specific amount and certain times, not whole day. Yeah? Follow the doctor's instruction. So also the Shastras become our doctor for food. They tell you have to follow that instruction. Yeah? One doctor tell one man buy a bottle of medicine and he gone home and he hold on a pose and he well shake and then he take the medicine. So the wife say, what are you doing? He said, it's written here on the bottle, shake well before taking. So he will shake. He shake himself, and then he take the medicine. You're supposed to shake me medicine. One doctor gave a man a bottle and he tell him, he said, don't take this medicine today. Skip 3 days and then take it. He buy a rope and he skip for 3 days. People misinterpret Shastras also, you know. The Shastras tell, eat 2 meals per day, let us say, right? In 1 week, one fella eat all the meal for the whole year already. In 1 week. Because only 2 per day. He eats so much. In 1 week, he done complete the whole year quota. No. So the food is supposed to be taken like medicine. This is the indication in the Shastra. Bhagwan Bhashakar also is telling that. He says, I am that aushadam, that which is offered in Havan, in that ritual, they offer medicinal herbs. Also, in the same way, this body is all the time burning energy. So the body is also like a Havan. So that food which is being offered is like the medicinal herbs. That is the idea. This body is burning like a Havan all the time, isn't it? Aham kratuhu mantro aham eva ajyam. Mantro aham. I am the mantra which is being chanted at the time of the religious sacrifice. Then aham eva ajyam. I am the ghee, Bhagavan says. Not that he is in the ghee. He is the ghee. He is the mantra. He is every thing. Sacred it is. Sacred. Aham Agni. I am the fire. Aham Hutam. I am the act of offering. Hutam. Havana Karma Bhashakar said. The act itself. I am that act of offering. Pitahamasya Jagataha Mata Dhata Pitamahaha. This is the first place in the history of human civilization that God is also called as Mother. Pitahamasya, I am the father. Hamasya of this universe. Pitahamasya Jagataha means of the whole world, I am the father. But then the next word is Mata. I am also the mother of the universe. Where you will find better religion than this? All religion that came after Hinduism are gender biased. God is always male, and women in those religions have always been subjected to a second class existence. It isn't only in Hinduism. And we also have slipped somewhere along the course of history. We also have slipped and followed those biased religions, and we have put our women also in second place. That is a slip in history. Such a slip which every Hindu should try to rectify. And there are people who are hell-bent on keeping it like that in Hinduism. But in this Bhagavad Gita, where really you find true spirituality, where there is an absolute equality that is taught. Because what is being taught here? What is being taught is that the equal presence of God in all things. From way down in the second chapter. The equal presence of God in all things. Because we have somehow along the way followed other people, and all of these evils have crept into Hinduism also. We have to make sure that we eliminate these things. God is equally father as well as mother. And he is equally present in all. See, he continues. Dhata. Dhata means the ordainer. Ordainer means what? Bhashakar said the ordainer means here, the one who makes sure. You know, Tulsidas ji writes a nice doha which we chant all the time, very famous doha. Chopai. Tulsidas ji writes in this line that the Lord has placed an incontrovertible law in this universe, non-transgressible law. And law is Jo jas karai so tas phalu chakha. As we sow, so exactly we shall reap. Now, the word dhata which is given here in Bhagavad Gita means, say, I do this action and it should lead to this result, right? Every action will have a result. But not only that, that action which is done will have that result, but that result should also go to the one from whom the action originated, isn't it? There has to be an absolute precision, otherwise there will be chaos in the universe. It means you will do some bad action and I will pay the cake. Isn't it? If there is no precision. The one who makes sure that the result of the action goes back exactly to the one from whom the action originated, that is Bhagwan. And in that capacity, he is called as Dhata. You understand this meaning of Dhata, no? When we understand Bhagwan doing that function, see, when Bhagwan is doing the function of manifesting the universe, that's why we call him Brahmaji. When he is performing the function of sustaining the universe, we call him as Vishnu. When he is performing the function of dissolving the universe, we call him as Shiva. So in different functions, Bhagwan is called as different things, different names. Here, The one who coordinates, makes sure that the result goes back exactly to the person who did the action. That's why Bhagavan is called as Dhata. Not Data, Dhata. D-H-A-T-A. What a nice word it is. And what this word signifies precision. Precision. One little mistake. One little mistake and the whole universe goes into chaos. And Bhagavan himself will be at fault. Look at that. Then he will not be perfect. If he is not perfect, then why are we praying to him? But he could make mistakes. You see? One mistake. Imagine that. And how many karmas we do all day? Millions. And you multiply that by 7 billion people on the planet. And every karma will have a result. Sometimes more than one result. Right? Think. And everyone has to be matched perfectly. Unfathomable actually to the mind. But he's Dhata. The one who keeps that there. Pitamaha, his grandfather. His grandfather signifies the originator of the universe. Vedyam pavitram omkara sama yajurevacha. Vedya means he is the thing which ought to be known. Throughout. Why you study Shastras, why you study Vedas, Upanishad, Gita, this, that, there's only one thing to be known. That's called a Vedyam. He is the thing to be known. Pavitram, the sanctifier, who sanctifies, purifies all things in the world. The most purifying thing. Nahi jnanena sadrasham pavitram iha vidyate. This will come up just now. There is nothing more purifying than knowledge. And Bhagavan himself is knowledge. Jnanam. Satyam jnanam anantam in the Upanishad it says. He is. Omkara hai. He is Om. And Rik Sama Yajure Vacha. And he is Rik, Sama and Yajur Ved. He is the Vedas itself. So he is all pervasive. He is everything. And people ask, where is Atharva Veda now? Suppose you have 4. Only 3 mentioned. At the time of the giving of the Bhagavad Gita by Bhagavan Shri Krishna, only 3 were documented. Atharva Veda was documented by Vedyaji later on. It's an additional Veda. So only 3 is mentioned up until this time. One got documented later on. Gatir Bhatta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit. He is Gatihi. Gati means the result of our actions. He is the result also. Not only the one who gives the result. Karma Phala Data in Hindi it is called. Karma Phala Data. So that is Dhata which we were just seeing here. But here, now word Gati. Gatihi is the result of all of our actions also. Bharta, the nourisher of the whole universe. Because we eat things from this universe to nourish ourselves. Na? We are eating Bhagavan only. What do you think? And who is eating Bhagavan? Bhagavan is eating Bhagavan. We are just talking about everything is Bhagavan. Sakshi, the witness. He is the one who witnesses the whole universe. Nivasa, the abode of all things. All things rest in God only. Like all waves rest in the ocean. And all oceans rest in water. All things rest in Bhagavan. Nivasa. Sharanam, the refuge. He is the refuge of all beings. When we get beaten up by the world, when after many lifetimes we get tossed here and there by this sansar and battered and beaten up and bruised and suffering in pain and anguish, we have only one refuge really. No other refuge that you take is going to bring any joy or happiness. One refuge. Sharanam Suhrit. He is the friend of all. And he is the best refuge. Best friend is the best. The best refuge is always best friend. Suhrit is best friend of all beings. Bhagavan will not turn anybody away. That's why you see we have this aspect of God we call as Lord Shiva. He is one aspect of Ishvara only. He is called Ashutosh. Ashutosh means he is easily pleased. And if you go and you see all the people who if you go and you see all the followers of Lord Shiva in Kailash, you will see snake and scorpion and centipede and tarantula and all the ugly looking ghosts and goblins and one eye and kana, one eye and langra, langri, everybody. All those who are rejected by the world and all, they go before Bhagwan. And Bhagwan, come. It have place for you also. Bhagwan never refuses anybody. That aspect teaches that truth about God. So he is the friend of all beings and the refuge of all beings, no matter who they are. Prabhavat Pralaya Sthanam. He is the one who manifests the universe, the one who sustains the universe, and the one who dissolves the universe. He is the very adhishthan, support of the whole universe. Sthanam also means nidhanam. Nidhanam means the storehouse of all things. He is the storehouse of all things. Bijam avyayam, the immortal seed of the universe, origin, source of the whole universe. He says, tapami aham varsham. Tapami aham, I send down heat. Am varsham nigrihnami yutsrajami. Means I send down the heat of the sun. That is me. Like that. It's me only. And I send forth rain and hold it back also. So not only is the rain, but the one who sends it and also holds it back. Varsham nigrihnami. Nigrihnami means I hold it. Keep the rain back. And then at some other times, visrajami, I send it. So when you see there is a drought in the country, Bhagwan himself, based on what? Just now we saw Dhata is giving the results of our karma. And the world's karma, you don't know the world's karma. See, when the Lord gives a long drought and your croton tree dry up and he die. Your croton in your yard dry because there was a long drought. That is croton karma too. Right? That is also the croton's karma. So how many karmas he will fulfill in one thing, you know? All those of karmas will be fulfilled in one stroke. He hold back the rain. Amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasat chaham arjuna. I am Amritam, immortality, and I am also mrityuscha, death. Lord himself is death. See, when we say Yamraj, we mean Bhagwan only. Bhagwan in the capacity of Yamraj. Huh? In that capacity we call Bhagwan Yamraj. That is the idea. Like you are in different capacities, you are given so many names. When you come here, you are Shrota, Bhakta, we say. Pyare, Bhakto, Jana. They are the beloved Bhaktas, devotees. We call you like that here, right? You go home, nobody calls you Pyare, Bhakta and all, you know. You see, some other name. There's a different capacity there, isn't it? And when you're driving on the road, you're driving stupid. And the light change green already and you pull off yet because why you're texting. Then the man behind you, where does they? You see, no pyare. You see how you are called different things in different capacities, different names at different times, right? So Bhagwan, as the remover, dissolver of things in the world, is called as Yamaraj only. It's mrityuscha, I am death itself. Sadasatchaham Arjuna, I am Sat and Asat. This Sadasat will come again. Nasatanna saduchyate in 13th chapter. Here Sat and Asat means I am existence and non-existence. This is the literal translation. Existence and non-existence. This phrase has to, you have to study this for long lifetimes. This watch exists or not? It exists. Now my hand exists. It's there. Now what is there where the hand was? Space. The space exists or not? Space exists. So there is no such thing as non-existence. There is only existence. there is something called as the idea of non-existence. That idea also exists. So, when you start thinking like this, Bhagavan Bhashakar says, but there is only existence, how do I say non-existence? There is no such thing as non-existence. Like the horns on my head, they exist or not? You have to be careful. One place Guruji or Swami Tejo Mehananji has gone, and he asked the audience, do you see the horns on my head? The one man in the audience said, not yet, Guruji. Maybe they have come out yet. The horns on my head, you say, they, in English, in our Trinidad language, or English, they do not exist. Right? So I say, in order for me to talk about it, I must first conceive it in my mind, isn't it? So I first thought about the horns on my head. And then when I mentioned it to you, you also thought about the horns on my head. So, the horns on my head exist at the thought level. Because thoughts also exist or not? Thoughts are there. So, Bhagavan Shankaracharya reflected like, but there is no such thing as non-existence. Everything exists either at a gross level or a subtle level, means at a physical level like this. At our level here, phenomenal level, or the noumenal level at a level more subtle. Right? But there is only existence. So here he explains that the word Sat and Asat here mean manifest is Sat and unmanifest is Asat. It is there, but you just can't see it, unmanifest. So they call it Asat. And therefore, since you cannot see it, for all you know, for all purposes, for you, that thing doesn't exist. That is all. Like for example, I'll give you a simple example. Suppose tomorrow you have some good karma to reap. Right. Now do you know which good karma you have to reap tomorrow? At this time, do you know? Well, we don't know. So as for all purposes, as far as I am concerned, that thing doesn't exist. That is called as Asat. It doesn't exist because I really don't know of its existence. That is all. It is unmanifest to me. So this is Sat and Asat. What is manifest to me is Sat. So Bhagavan leaves this topic here now. And I told you he'll pick it up in 10th chapter. There. A whole chapter he'll deal with his manifestations in all things. He is there manifest in all things. And remember just now, I told you he started talking about religious people. People who are engaged in all of the rituals of the Vedas. Right? And they're the ones he started instructing about his omnipresence. And what he is trying to do now is to pull people's mind away from all these heavy rituals and pull their mind to the absolute Lord who comprises all the things that make up the ritual. In other words, you can get carried away for millennia only in doing that ritual and miss the point totally. So there is a Lord who is himself the ghee, who is the fire, who is the mantra, who is the offering, who is everything. He is everything. That is the goal, not the ritual. Ritual is not the goal. So now he comes back to that topic. It's a very important topic, especially here in Trinidad and Tobago. Very, very relevant. See now, this meter changes. So we just have to go back to our old tune. Traividyamam somapaputa papaha.
Traividyamam somapaputa papaha.
Yajnairishva swargatim prathayante.
Yajnairishva swargatim prathayante.
Te punyamasadya surendra lokam.
Te punyamasadya surendra lokam.
Ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan.
Ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam.
Shire punye martyalokam vishanti.
Shire punye martyalokam vishanti.
Evam trayi dharmam anupapannaha.
Evam trayi dharmam anuprapannaha.
Gatagatam kama kama labhante.
Gatagatam kama kama labhante.
Gatagatam kama kama labhante.
Gatagatam kama kama labhante.
You know, if you have done some little bit of traveling, and I know many of you travel in this world, you will see that people talk about in Trinidad there is so much of corruption, and if you go to India there is so much of corruption, and when you go to places like America and Canada, you don't see the corruption. You don't see the kind of corruption that you see here, right? But let me tell you something. Everywhere had the same corruption, right? Just in some countries it is blatant, and other countries it is masked very well. It's hidden very well. It has become institutionalized. So you think it is the norm. But the corruption is there everywhere. So now, because here at the ordinary man on the street is doing it openly and blatantly and all, and it is being done in some countries by the big people, and it has become institutionalized and part of the whole system and all that kind of thing, and so there it has become like accepted like. But whether it is a little man doing it or a big man doing it, corruption is corruption. In some places it is done with finesse. It is done in a sophisticated way. So whether it is done in a very crude and rustic way, or it is done in a sophisticated way, corruption is corruption. Well, exactly the same thing happens when it comes to religion also. Now you'll see this thing. See, Bhagavan is talking about people who are engaged in religious rituals of the Vedas. Right? And he ends his 2 verses here by saying that these people attain what? Gatagatam kama kama labhante. They attain the path of going and coming. A path that is characterized by desires only. Kama kama. Craving and longing and desire. Because we are doing the ritual for a particular goal. So you get the goal and you enjoy the goal, and then what? Well, that is just like any other worldly thing. Because, see, the worldly thing is done in a gross way, in a primitive way, but this is done in a sophisticated way. Well, chanting mantras, I chanting mantras and offering it to the gods, and But behind the two of the, whether it is a primitive man who is looking for a worldly thing, or this person who is looking for some heaven or somewhere to go and enjoy, both of them have behind the same desire is desire. Desire is desire. Now see what he very nicely he explains. Now some pop-up come here and okay. He gone. He popped down. Traividyamam somapaputa papaha. This is one of the difference between a book and a computer, In a book, nothing can pop up here, He telling me to buy virus protection. No internet to him. Me downloaded last night or something. So, Traividyamam somapaput papaha yajnai rishtva swargatim prarthayante. No, what? Swargatim prarthayante yajnaihi ishtva. They worship and prarthayante, they make offerings and worship and say prayers for what? Swargatim. To go to Swarga. To go to heaven. What is called as heaven, loosely translated in English as heaven, right? Then what happens? You see, he has a desire because he has heard of heaven, and the scriptures speak about heaven. They speak about Swarga. What is there? In Swarga, you know, what is the difference between here and Swarga? Only one difference. Anything you enjoy here, you multiply that by 100 and you will get that much pleasure there. So if you lick an ice cream here, one lick, what joy you get from that ice cream, right? If you lick that ice cream in Swarga, well, that joy will be 100 times. Imagine the intensity of the joy of Swarga. So when people hear about this, well, Yajna Rishtva, they worship through Yajnas and make offerings and all. And Prarthayante Swargatim, they pray for Swarga, they want to go there. And see anything, like for example, if you are popular here, you know, you have so many people who are very popular. So you are 1 degree popular. When you go there and you become a pop star, imagine how popular you will be. And the joy from being from popularity will be so much more. So they pray for that. And what did Traividyamam, they study the 3 Vedas. And Sobapaha, Putapapaha. Somapaha means they study the 3 Vedas and they do all the rituals, and at the end there is a Soma juice. They drink that. That is the prasad from the... No, I don't know why it's Soma. Even nowadays nobody knows why it's Soma. In the old days they used to do this, all these Vedic rituals, and they used to have a type of juice there. And they used to sing their Zeus. And get zunk. Soma juice. Right? So, that they call as Somapaha. Somapaha means those who drink Soma juice after the ritual. After all these Vedic rituals. Alright? Trividya. Trividya means 3 Vedas. They study and they do all these rituals. Then, Putapapaha means they remove. Because, look, that also has great merit in that. Because if you're doing good karma, it has to be good results. Well, what to say? All karmas bear results. So they're not doing any, you know, all the evil, wicked karmas of this world. They're doing some other type of karmas. They're making offerings to the gods. And they're getting all the samagri, get all the material for it, sit down, do the mantra, do all the fasting, this, that. No, it's good karma. But the intention is what? To go to Swarga. But this is the idea, right? Then Bhagavan continues now. What happens? Tetam punyam. Punyam asadya surendra lokam. Then, because of the good karma which they have done, punyam, collected and make the sacrifice and do all of this. Asadya surendra lokam, they go to Swarga. Surendra lokam is Swarga. Surendra Loka means where Indra is the king. Swarga, Indra is the king there. Surendra Lokam, Asadya, having gone there, what happens? Ashnanti Divyan Divideva Bhogan. They enjoy all divine pleasures like anything. Everything multiplied by 100. So they Ashnanti, enjoy. Anything. Man, 1 ice cream, you're good for a whole year. Anything, because the pleasure is so much. Then what happens now? See. Tetam bhuktva swarga lokam vishalam. Having enjoyed this vast swarga with all its pleasures. Power and money. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, wine, woman and wealth. Because that's what people like. Enjoy. Then what happens? Khine punye marcha lokam vishanti. Having exhausted all your karmas which you did here, marcha lokam vishanti, damn, you fall back in this world here. So that is it. Gata gatam, coming and going. And so, that is no different than a man who live in here, enjoying here. He died and he come back right here. Bhagavan is trying to tell, this is not the goal of spirituality. Even the Swarga, going to Swarga and coming back, because when your punya, all good karmas finish in there, and you realize that very bad tasting, it leaves a bad taste in your. Let me tell you something. If you move from a lower spot to a higher spot, there is joy. When you move from a higher spot to a lower spot, when you get demoted, anybody like that? That is terrible misery. First I was a manager. Now I fired and I'm trying to manage. He lost everything. Terrible, bad taste is left in the mouth. So this is what happened. Say, evam trai dharma anuprapannaha. Like this, given those people who are given over to these rituals and who seek swarga, they attain the state of going and coming, just like all of us. In other words, remember I told you there are two parts which are being indicated in Bhagavad Gita. One is the spiritual part, and one is the material part. The materialistic part. This falls in the same materialistic part because the goal is only to go and enjoy, and when you finish, enjoy all your punya karma finished. Right back here. Come back, we're waiting for you. There's space. So what is the difference? But in contrast to those people, Bhagavan now talks about, and this verse is said to be, it may not be the physically it is the middle verse of Bhagavad Gita. Of course you can't find a middle verse because there are 700 verses. But this verse is considered to be the middle of Bhagavad Gita. See, it's a very famous verse. This is spirituality at its best in Bhakti Marg. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Ananya Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paryupasate.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Tesham Nityaviyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Yetyanya devata bhaktaha yajante hridayanvitaha.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Tepi mameva kaunteya yajantya vidhipuratam.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri
Krishna Sharanam
Mama.
Bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. Bhagavan says, Ananyash chintayantaha mam, those who worship me or think of me with ananya bhav. Those who think of me with ananya bhav. Ananya bhav means with no anya. Anya means other. Those who think like this. Bhagavan is not some other person than me, he is there, he's some. Bhagavan is me, myself. That is called ananya bhav. Bhagavan is me, myself. He pervades every iota of my being. He is my very own self. That is called Ananya Bhav. So Ananyash Chintayantu Mam. Those who think of me like that. Ye Janaha Paryupasate. And worship me thus. Those people who worship me thus. Thinking of me as part and parcel of their own self and worshipping me with, oh, how wonderfully Bhagavan is there operating in his body, in his mind, in his intellect, making this heart beat, making the mind and intellect think and calculate and make a plan and decipher things and logically rationalize things. How all that is going on in your head, you know. It is amazing. If you really just think about the coordination that is required to climb a flight of stairs. If you think about that coordination, you know, you cannot even figure out what coordination is required to turn while you are walking. You know what makes a car turn. You turn the steering wheel and the wheel turn. Right? But how you have no wheel and you're turning? You wouldn't be, and you know, you turn with such precision without making a mistake. It is amazing. See, we don't stretch the limits of our mind to think about all the intricacies of living, you know. You're just doing it and taking it for granted. But it is that Lord who is in me, who is making all of these things happen. Ananya Chintayantu Mam Ye Janaha Paryupasate, who worship me like this. See, that recognition itself is worship of Bhagavan. To recognize that there is a divine being in me that forms every part and parcel of me, and it is that divine being that is in control of all things and making all things happen. You invented language or what? So I am talking to you in a language. How that language has come to me, I don't know. And how you are understanding also, you don't know. Because there's divinity, an infinite power in the universe that is making all little things and big things also happen. How this earth is going around the sun. How the sun is burning. So the one who thinks of God like this, that a God who is part and parcel of me and is making all things happen in me. He says, Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam, those people who are constantly united with me, because they are thinking of me not as something separate and away, but as part and parcel of their own self. Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham means to say, I take care of everything for them. All the things that they want and all the things that they have, I protect. Means I bring all the things that they want and I protect all the things that they have. This is Nir-Yogakshema Atmavan we saw previously. Here, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Yoga and Kshema are the two things that all human beings are engaged in their whole life. Either you are trying to get something or you are trying to protect something which you have already. Tell me any other thing which you are doing. Right now you are trying to get some knowledge. Right? Or you are trying to protect yourself from some problem. Or whatever you have already, you are trying to protect that. These are only two things we do. We don't do anything else. Anything you do, it can be put into one of these two. Either you are trying to get something or protect something. No, Swamiji, that dog rushed me and I run. So I am trying to get nothing. According to you, I am trying to get a dog bite. But there when I ran away from the dog, I wasn't trying to get something. I just see now, just language you are using differently. When you say you're running away from the dog, and you say you're not trying to get something, you're trying to get something. Huh? You're trying to keep your life. Yes. Protect your life. Isn't it? Or you're trying to get to safety. You're trying to get to safety. You're trying to get security. You're trying to, like that, to get something. So he says, Bhagavan says, the people who worship me like that, with Ananya Bhav, that I am them, I am they themselves. For those people says, I bring everything which they want and I protect everything which they have. I am the one who does that. That's why we keep telling people in this path of spirituality, if the person who could really give himself over to God, he'll have to worry about nothing in this world. And those who don't give themselves to God, they worry all the time and still they get nothing. They keep on worrying. Oh, bapre. When they don't have anything to worry about, they get worried. They never give themselves over to God and they worry about everything in this world and everything eludes them. So, the best thing, give the self over to God and let Bhagavan take, Once that happens, some devotees say, well, we put Bhagavan in trouble, now he had to bring everything for me now. So some devotees don't want to do that too. In part of devotion, they don't want to give themselves over to God also because they say, now poor Bhagavan, he had to go and bring food for me from somewhere. But I don't surrender to him, I want to give him that trouble. I go make my own food. If it is done out of pure devotion like that, it is okay. But we don't do it out of devotion. We make our own food out of ignorance. Because we are insecure. No, don't tell me about all this surrender to Bhagavan. I'm thinking, I'm going to make my own food. But the one who really is able, that's why they say that this verse is the center of Bhagavad Gita. That here, there are two things. For the one who gives himself over totally to God, God takes care of that person totally also. He has nothing to worry about. And you have read so many stories everywhere in the Puranas and all these, the Shastras and history and all the great sages and saints. You have read their works and all. They are replete with stories of where, see, Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was traveling from Varanasi to Haridwar by train. The train stops midway in Varanasi. He was traveling from Calcutta to Haridwar by train. And that train stops midway in Varanasi. So somebody asked that Swamiji, Swamiji, you're going on this long journey from Calcutta. What you will eat? 2 days journey? What you will eat? Swamiji said, Bhagavan brought me in this world, he'll feed me. What is there? And he went on the train. No food! Everybody went Indian train, you have to go and see. Oh, vapre. If you are traveling in an Indian train, you have more food than people. People carry so much food and put all under the seat and all about. Food. Indian people have some kind of thing with food. That's Hey Annadanaki Maharani Jayalakshmi Rani. Annadana, you see. Anna, we speak about food all the time. Anna means food. So, he got on the train. When the train reached Varanasi, somebody walked, and those days no phone and thing, Somebody walked into the train, and the same buggy in which that train has so many buggies. He walked into that buggy and shouted or looked down the aisle like this and shouted out, "Where is Swami Vivekananda?" And Swamiji poked his head out on the corridor. The person saw that and came and gave a basket and walked out the train. You see Swamiji's work, you will see it there. Written there. No phone, no matter how that person knows Swamiji is on that train coming from Calcutta and going there, and this train will stop here, that particular train, that train number, that buggy and everything. Bhagavan only. But you have to become Swami Vivekananda first. Don't go there tomorrow in any train and don't carry no food and thing. Tomorrow you go on, you plain Swami Vivekananda, you put on Gerwa clothes and thing now, and you sit down there waiting, Om. You were there saying Om. First you have to become like Swami Vivekananda. Ananyāścintayanto māmi janāha paripāsate. Those people who worship me with ananya bhav, with no feeling of difference between themselves and God. We are one with God. That understanding has to be there, deep-rooted, meditated upon for a long time. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam bhahamyaham. I take care of all the things which they want me, I bring it, and I protect everything which they have. We can safely say that we have reached the center of Bhagavad Gita. Better stop here. Tomorrow we will continue the last half.